Olivia Hayes, that's me at 26, was living the classic Austin, Texas dream, or at least my version of it. I had a decent job in marketing, a cute little apartment in South Austin with a shared balcony, and the constant hum of creativity and breakfast tacos in the air. My world was pretty good, busy, but mostly peaceful. I loved my space, my quiet mornings with a cup of coffee looking out at the city waking up, and the simple pleasure of a well-stocked fridge. That fridge was my sanctuary, filled with my carefully planned meals, the expensive oat milk I treated myself to, and all the fresh produce I bought at the farmer's market every Saturday. It wasn't just food, it was my budget, my health, my little corner of control in a sometimes chaotic world. But that peace, that sense of control, was slowly but surely being chipped away by one colossal, infuriating problem: my roommate Kyle. Kyle wasn't a bad guy, not intentionally, but he possessed a superpower of oblivious destruction when it came to our shared kitchen appliance. His habit was this: he'd wander into the kitchen late at night, a ghostly figure in the dim light, open the fridge, stare blankly into its glowing depths as if searching for ancient treasure, grab one measly cheese stick or maybe a yogurt, and then, without fail, walk away, leaving the fridge door ever so slightly ajar. Not wide open, mind you, but just enough that the seal wouldn't catch, just enough for the cold air to seep out and the warm air to creep in. It was a slow, agonizing death for our groceries and for my patience. We'd lost countless gallons of milk, turning sour before their time, delicate leafy greens wilting into slimy puddles, and various leftovers becoming questionable biohazards. I was constantly throwing out food, which felt like throwing away money, something a 26-year-old trying to save for a down payment in Austin simply could not afford. I was growing increasingly unsatisfied, not just with the spoiled food, but with the utter disrespect for our shared space and my financial well-being. Kyle, with his innocent forgetfulness, had become my unexpected nemesis. I tried to solve the problem, honestly, I did. My first attempt was the gentle approach. I'd casually mention it the next morning: "Hey, Kyle, just a heads up, the fridge door was open again last night, milk almost spoiled." He'd nod, offer a mumbled apology, and promise to be more careful. It worked for maybe a day, tops. Then the cycle would repeat. The next hurdle was leaving little post-it notes on the fridge handle: "Please close door fully, don't forget." I even drew a little frowny face on one, hoping to tug at his conscience. Those notes would vanish, or more often, they'd just be pushed aside, ignored. The problem didn't just persist, it worsened. It wasn't just milk anymore. Frozen dinners in the freezer would get a thin layer of frost from the constant temperature fluctuations, then partially thaw, then refreeze, ruining their texture and taste. My ice cream would become soft and icy, a sad shadow of its former creamy self. I started to resent coming home. The kitchen, once a place I enjoyed cooking in, became a source of dread. Every morning, my heart would clench as I approached the fridge, bracing myself for the familiar faint hum of a door left unsealed, or the telltale drip of condensation from the top shelf. The financial impact was hitting hard too. Groceries in Austin aren't cheap, and having to replace staples almost weekly was eating into my savings, the very savings I was so meticulously trying to build. I started buying smaller quantities, trying to minimize the damage, but it felt like I was letting Kyle control my shopping habits. I even tried a more direct approach, sitting him down one evening, explaining calmly but firmly how much food and money we were losing, how important it was to me, how it affected our shared living space. He looked genuinely apologetic, promised again, even helped me clean out a spoiled container of yogurt that day. For a glorious 3 days, the fridge door was shut tight. I thought finally we'd turned a corner. But then, one Thursday morning, I woke up to the smell of something distinctly off, and sure enough, the fridge door was gaping open, cold air rushing out, a brand new carton of orange juice completely ruined. That was it. That was my lowest point. I felt utterly defeated, invisible, like my words and feelings simply didn't matter. I stared at that open fridge, at the wasted food, at the broken promises, and a hot wave of anger washed over me. I felt like I was drowning in Kyle's casual indifference, and I knew then that talking, notes, and polite requests were utterly useless. I needed a new strategy, something that would pierce through his obliviousness, something that would make him remember, truly remember, every single time. My patience was gone, replaced by a steely resolve. The decision crystallized in my mind that morning as I poured spoiled orange juice down the drain. I wasn't just going to fix the fridge door problem, I was going to make Kyle never forget to close it again. This wasn't about being mean, It was about reclaiming my peace, my money, and my sanity. It was time for a final, last-ditch effort, and this one would be impossible to ignore. I spent the next few days planning my attack, an operation of stealth and maximum annoyance. My research led me to the glorious, often overlooked world of novelty musical fridge magnets. Not just any magnets, mind you. I needed a specific kind. The cheap, plastic, motion-activated ones that shrieked little tunes or animal noises when they sensed light. I found a vendor on a well-known international shopping website, selling them in bulk, by the pound even. I ordered a ridiculous amount, enough to cover every square inch of our refrigerator's interior, a veritable symphony of plastic cacophony. A week later, a huge box arrived at our door, clattering with the promise of future irritation. I waited for the perfect moment. Kyle worked late shifts sometimes, which gave me an open window. One Tuesday evening, after he'd left for work, I began my mission. I unwrapped each of the 30-plus magnets, grinning frogs, squawking parrots, cheerful strawberries, all ready to unleash their tiny, tinny melodies. My apartment was filled with the faint, electronic snippets as I tested them. It was going to be glorious. Methodically, almost surgically, I placed them. Every shelf got several. The inside of the door was completely covered. I even tucked one inside the egg carton, another behind the milk jug, and a particularly loud one right where the light sensor was. The fridge, once a quiet sentinel of freshness, was transformed into a booby-trapped musical nightmare, a silent orchestra waiting for its conductor. I finished my work just as the sun was setting, feeling a wicked sense of satisfaction. That night, I couldn't sleep. My heart was pounding with anticipation, a mix of nerves and pure, unadulterated excitement. I was reading a book, pretending to be nonchalant, when I heard Kyle's familiar footsteps approach the kitchen around midnight. He probably wanted his usual cheese stick. I held my breath. I heard the distinct thump hiss of the fridge door opening, the sound of the suction seal breaking. And then it happened. The quiet of our apartment exploded. Imagine 30 tiny, 8-bit nursery rhymes, all playing at slightly different speeds, different pitches, at maximum, ear-splitting volume. A squawking parrot mixed with Old MacDonald Had a Farm at warp speed, a cheerful strawberry playing a demented Twinkle, Twinkle Little Star, all layered over each other in a chaotic digital symphony of pure agony. It wasn't music, it was a sensory assault. I heard Kyle yelp, a startled sound somewhere between surprise and terror. There was the crash of something hitting the floor, probably the plate he was holding. And then, almost immediately, the resounding thud of the fridge door being slammed shut with an urgency I had never heard from him before. Silence returned, thick and absolute, broken only by my own suppressed giggles. I heard him mutter something incomprehensible, probably a string of expletives, then shuffle quickly back to his room. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen. The fridge door was closed. Not just almost closed, but properly, firmly sealed. Kyle was already gone for work. I cautiously opened the door. The magnets remained, a colorful, silent army waiting. From that day forward, the fridge door was always, without fail, closed. My groceries stopped spoiling. My peace of mind returned. The financial drain stopped. It wasn't just about the food, it was about the respect, about feeling heard. I had reclaimed my space and my sanity, and the silent, colorful presence of those magnets was a constant, satisfying reminder of my victory. Kyle never mentioned the magnets directly, not a word. But occasionally, I'd catch him peering at the fridge before he opened it, a slight flinch in his eyes, as if expecting the digital nightmare to erupt again. And sometimes, very rarely, late at night, I would hear the fridge open. A single magnet would chirp for a split second before the door was slammed shut again, reminding me that even a brief glimpse of light could trigger a tiny, joyful sound, just enough to ensure the door would be closed completely. It was my little secret, my triumphant symphony of silence, and the best few dollars I had ever spent. My new normal was glorious, a quiet, well-stocked fridge, and the subtle knowledge that I had learned to fight for my peace, not with words, but with an army of musical frogs and strawberries.